Shalom, Israel, grace and blessings from God the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ be unto you. All praise to the Most High. We made another week to another Sabbath day. Just making sure that we are live. It would appear that we are on both platforms. All praises to the Most High for that. Let me go ahead and check and make sure everything's functioning properly. It should be, but let me just check and see. Okay, so we are live on YouTube. Okay, but let me just check and see. Okay, all praises to the Most High. We are live on YouTube with audio and all that good stuff. Let's see if that lasts. You never can tell. Let's see. Facebook. Okay, all praises to the Most High. Hey, we're good on Facebook. We're good on Facebook too. All praises to the Most High. All right. So let me just go ahead and cut my phone on silent. And closed out the Passover this week. All praises to the Most High for that. Had a good feast, you know. So all praises to the Most High for that. I do want to say, and it's not necessarily something that I'm going to cover tonight, but very close to me personally, there was a lot of bad weather, tornado type weather. Even a couple people died. A lot of people lost a lot of their personal belongings and even their parts of their houses and things like that up in Selmer, Tennessee. All right, so hey, the Most High ain't playing around. You know what I mean, y'all? Hey, if you want to help, they got places up there where you can. But hey, send prayers that the people of Selmer receive the word the way that they should, now that the Most High has afflicted them, because the scripture does say, in their affliction they shall seek me early. All right, so Lord's will, you know, things get well, I know things are just going to get worse before they get better as far as prophecy goes. But hey, Lord's will, some people turn to the Lord in all this. Turn to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what it's all about. All right, seeking the kingdom first. And you know, read Matthew 6 a little earlier. Seeking the kingdom first, and all those things will be added to you. All the food, clothing, and shelter, all that stuff will be added to you if you seek the kingdom first. All right. That bad weather thing is really the only news that I've heard of this week that I won't be covering. Oh yeah, the tariffs. I'm not really covering the tariffs. Just know that prices are going to start going up. I mean, we've known this ever since Trump came into office. They told us this before he came into office that things were going to start going up. Gas has already started going up from what I could tell. Maybe some grocery items slightly, but it hasn't really hit us too hard just yet, I would say. But yeah, without any further ado, let's bring this on down and we can go ahead and jump into the stories for this week. All right. Alrighty. So I talked about this before. And I'll start with this general story first, and then I'll get into the specific story about deportations. I talked about these deportations before Trump even got into office, because this is what they were talking about before they got into office, right? So, you know, I told the people to be prepared for this sort of thing. I was specifically focusing on Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, but as Trump has demonstrated, he does not care. He does not care if you're. It's specifically like Northern Kingdom Israelites right now, as who he's focusing on, the so-called Latinos, and it does not matter which tribe you're from, it does not matter what country you're from. They're really sending them all to this El Salvadorian prison. So he is not, even if you get deported, you're not going back to your original country, you're going to this El Salvadorian prison. Or at least these El Salvadorian prisons. I don't know how many it is, but we'll see from this article. Trump deported 238 Venezuelans to El Salvador. dozens have active asylum cases, right? So again, it's not really about whether you're here legally or not, or whether you are from El Salvador. He's going to send you to this El Salvadorian prison, right? Because he just wants Northern Kingdom Israelites at this point. He just wants Northern Kingdom Israelites out of this country. All right. On a Thursday morning last month, immigration agents knocked on the door of Lionel Chavez's Dallas home looking for someone else. Despite an upcoming immigration hearing, the 19-year-old Venezuelan was taken into custody for questioning about his tattoos. 2 days later, he was on a plane heading to El Salvador's most notorious prison. He said it right there. So, hey, them tattoos, they start, the Most High straight up told us not to get tattoos. And this is one of them reasons, right? This is one of them reasons. Now, obviously, those tattoos probably had no connection to anything. But, you know, if you never got the tattoo in the first place, there would never be no questioning. Not to say they probably would have never got you. I mean, they probably would have found something else to get you on. But still, these things are happening because of sin. Understand that. The Trump administration deported E. Chavez and 237 countrymen labeled as Venezuelan gang members with no chance to contest the allegations in court, right? And that's the whole thing about this, is that they don't really care. Trump and his administration don't really care about due process. They care about getting the Northern Kingdom Israelites out of the country, right? Because they see Northern Kingdom Israelites is kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's some, let me plug this up real quick. Some like Hitlerian stuff, as far as like they're tainting the blood and all this kind of stuff. And the Northern Kingdom Israelites, so-called Latinos, are the fastest growing demographic in America, right? So by 2034, or 2034, by 2035, 2040, somewhere around in there, Latinos would be the most dominant ethnic group in the country, all right? And they don't want that, right? They have this whole white replacement theory, which has some truth to it, in that, you know, hey, there's more brown people in the country, and there will be more brown people in the country than white people in the coming years, right? So they don't want that. They want to, you know, they want to stop that. They want to prevent that, right? The Trump administration deported E. Chavez and 200, I just read that, with no chance to contest allegations in court. The U.S. government has provided scant information about the deportees beyond alleging that they are members of Trende, I cannot even say that word, Aragua. Trende Aragua, it's kind of tough to say. All that together, Trende Aragua, a transnational criminal group from Venezuela that the Trump administration has designated a foreign terrorist organization, one of the many cartels down there, I'm sure. Through interviews with family members of 50 of the deportees found via advocates and family members in the U.S. and Venezuela, and checked against a leaked list of deportees published by CBS News, Reuters has captured the most comprehensive picture to date of how the men on those flights became caught up in a rapid-fire deportation process. It says 27 of the Venezuelans whose cases Reuters reviewed were never ordered deported. They have upcoming immigration court hearings to make their asylum and other claims to stay in the U.S., according to immigration court records, even though they are now in El Salvador, right? So they're not gonna be able to attend those court dates, obviously. Judges in several cases appeared shocked to find migrants who failed to attend scheduled immigration court dates because they had been deported, according to immigration lawyers who attended the hearings. Right? So they don't care about the due process. They don't care about the law. They care about shipping out brown people. That's what's going on. All right. The operation carried out after President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport alleged members of Trende Aragua, and has been challenged by civil rights groups for a failure of due process. It says a U.S. appeals court last week upheld a decision to block Trump's use of the law, leading the administration to appeal to the Supreme Court. In a court filing late Friday night, the American Civil Liberties Union presented what it said was a government checklist to determine Trende Aragua members. The undated Alien Enemy Validation Guide employs a point system to determine gang membership. The guide takes into account criminal convictions and court records, as well as tattoos, hand gestures, and clothing. Criteria that experts cited by the ACLU said risk making a false identification. So I want y'all to pay attention to this because it's not going to stop here. All right, obviously, and we're going to get into it how these people weren't gang members, right? But everybody these days talking about gang. Look what they're going to do. They're going to send your ass to El Salvadorian prison. Straight up. And people aren't even affiliated with gangs, but they admire that gang culture. And guess what? Trump and his group, they're going to come after your ass. It is what it is. When asked for comment, a Trump administration official said that the administration had confidence in the process of identifying gang members. Intelligence assessments go well beyond a single tattoo, the person said, on condition of anonymity. It says Trump, so why they had to be anonymous, right? Because they didn't want people to know who they are because they know that they're in the wrong. It says Trump won back the White House pledging mass deportations and said in his inaugural address that he could invoke the Alien Enemies Act to target foreign gangs. The Trump administration has argued the law gives it vast authority to deport alleged members of Tren de Aragua. Of the 50, at least 24 entered the U.S. using a smartphone app known as CBP-1, according to family members. The app was introduced during Joe Biden's administration to allow migrants to schedule an appointment to request entry at a legal border crossing. Trump ended the program as one of his first moves in office, right? Because even Biden's administration, like I've said on here before, that Kamala had went down to Guatemala and said, "Do not come." Right, but they still were not as tough on immigration as Trump and his team were. Right, so you could seek asylum through an app, evidently. 8 of those deported to El Salvador by Trump had been detained at the border under Biden and remained detained until their removal. 10 of the 50 were arrested when they appeared for routine immigration check-ins. You see that right there. So they were trying to be complicit with the law, and then boom, Trump don't care. He's going to deport your ass. All right. Others were detained going about their daily lives, filling up their cars, leaving for work, listening to music with friends, according to interviews with family members, right? So they're just going about their daily routine, going about their daily life, and then boom, snatched up, all right? They were barbers, tattoo artists, construction workers, delivery drivers, and factory workers, right? So your everyday person, right? Especially when it comes to like construction workers and factory workers, hey, that's Latinos all day. You know what I'm saying? So-called Latinos all day, right? Family members of more than 24 of the deportees provided Venezuelan government documents attesting to clean criminal records there, and all 50 families said their loved ones were not gang members. Reuters could not independently verify the authenticity of the documents, right? So you have, of course, everybody who knows these people is saying, look, they're not gang members. I'm not even going to sit here and say that, like, none of them were gang members, but that is a possibility, right? But it also could be like you're coming from that world of like South America and even on up to Mexico, right, throughout Central America, and the cartels have a chokehold on everything, right? From like the northern parts of South America and on into Mexico to like to the Texas border. To the U.S.-Mexican border, the cartels have control of everything. All right, so it could be they were kind of coerced. Could be that they were under duress to join these gangs, and they did it because that was their only choice. Right? Could very well be that, and then they came to the U.S. seeking asylum, seeking a better life. That could very well be the possibility, where they're not here to do any kind of criminal activity. They're actually here to escape all the criminal activity. That could be a possibility. Could be that I'm really, really hesitant to say that all were just evil gang members. Like, that's just doesn't seem to be the case at all. Doesn't seem to be the case at all. Just up here doing crimes and doing things illegal up here. Like, no, these aren't boogeymen. These are, like, as it says here, construction workers and factory workers, tattoo artists, barbers, delivery drivers, right? Reuters found criminal charges in the U.S. for names matching 6 of the men in the group, of the 50 that they looked for, right? So there was around 250, so like they interviewed like a fifth of them, but only like 10%, right? Only around 10% were actually had any kind of criminal charge in the U.S., right? Including for domestic violence and shoplifting, as well as conviction for lewd and threatening language, right? So even that, Domestic violence, that's bad. But none of this is like gang activity, right? Domestic violence, shoplifting, and it says for lewd and threatening language. I mean, you could argue that's gang activity, but not really. Like, none of this is really like gang activity, any of these criminal charges brought up against these guys. All right. The Trump administration has acknowledged in court that many of the men sent to El Salvador do not have U.S. criminal records. So he already said straight up, look, yeah, they weren't committing crimes here. It don't matter to us. We're going to ship them out. The lack of specific information about each individual actually highlights the risk they pose. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement official Robert Cherna said in a court filing on March 17th, it demonstrates that they are terrorists with regard to whom we lack a complete profile. Right? So none of this has anything to do with terrorism. Like they literally said like that they cannot really prove any kind of like criminal activity from these people, right? So except for what they did prove up here, right? Or at least he literally said that or they acknowledged that many of these men do not have U.S. criminal records. So how can you call them terrorists if they don't have U.S. criminal records? Chavez, the 19-year-old Venezuelan, had come to the U.S. to claim asylum in 2023. His mother, Maria Luisa Paz, said among hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans fleeing economic hardship and authoritarian government at home. Right? So, yeah, and Trump is the one during his first administration who said the Venezuelans could come up here to seek asylum. He literally made that decree. All right? So now the people who did do that, now he's shipping them back. Not even shipping them back, shipping them to an El Salvadorian prison. Immigrants who are deemed not to pose a safety or flight risk are often allowed to pursue their asylum cases while living freely in the U.S., as long as they check in regularly with ICE. And some of these people, they did. They did check in regularly. As we read earlier, right? They were checking in with their immigration officer. Where was that at? For routine immigration check-ins, right? They were arrested. So that's going to lead to a lot more people not checking in with ICE, and that's going to lead to a lot more ICE arrests. All right, all this is a sick cycle. All right, so it says Chavez, who had a work permit, worked in an aluminum plant and lived with his cousin Daniel Paz and another friend. On March 13th, immigration agents were looking for Paz, who had a deportation order, according to Paz's sister, Grelis Herrera. Y'all forgive me with these names. I'm not a Spanish speaker, at least not fluent. Grelis Herrera. Chavez and his friend were caught up in the operation, but told they would be released after some questions about their tattoos. Right? Yeah, fell for that one, huh? The oldest trick in the book. Chavez has tattoos of a rose with branches, an arrow, and of his sister's name. He has an upcoming immigration court hearing scheduled for July 2026 in Dallas. You think they're going to ship that man from the El Salvadorian prison back up here? And this is a kid, right? He's 19. You think they're going to ship him back up for his court hearing? No. He may not even make it that long, if I'm just being honest. 3/4 of the 50 men had tattoos. Immigration lawyers, family members, and advocates said authorities are rounding up young Venezuelan men with tattoos that honor their family members, their professions, and even soccer teams rather than signify membership in the Tren de Aragua gang. Right? So yeah, they're just looking for. I want y'all to notice this. They're really just looking for the men. Hey, get the men out of the country, keep the women here. That's really what they're doing. All right, it's because they know that the seed comes from the father, right? So they don't want more Israelites here. The women can stay here. They can marry, some Edomites here or whatever, right? But get the men out of here, right? It's the same thing that Pharaoh did. All right. The Trump administration insists it deported dangerous gang members, even as it has declined to provide evidence. Right. So they said, look, we don't need evidence. We see the men with tattoos, and we're shipping them out. Right. A briefing document by ICE's investigative arm said Tren de Aragua members have been observed with tattoos including crowns, trains, and clocks. Those sound very random. It doesn't sound like anything specifically tied to a gang. Because usually if there's like a gang tattoo, then it is like one specific thing, right? It noted other identifiers including sports attire from U.S., professional sports teams with Venezuelan nationals on them, and apparel associated with former Chicago Bulls star Michael Jordan. That just sounds like anybody. If I'm being honest, except for like the Venezuelan nationals part, but anybody like that is like from Venezuela and still like likes their country, and still has some sense of like nationalism about them. Because when it comes to Northern Kingdom, man, when it comes to Northern Kingdom, the so-called Latinos, man, they truly like rep their country, right? Rep their and in the case of Puerto Rico, it'd be like their territory, right? But still though, like they bring their flags out, they bring certain like jerseys out, soccer jerseys usually, right? So any Venezuelan person with like Venezuelan national jerseys on, like that could literally be anybody from Venezuela, right? It's the same thing with any kind of like MJ stuff. MJ was like global, right? So now anybody in America, that maybe all they know about America is like Michael Jordan's from here, right? So yeah, it's pretty vague. It's not very specific at all. A separate intelligence document by U.S. Border Patrol's El Paso sector, dated to October 2023, offered conflicting guidance, saying Chicago's Bulls attire, clocks, and rose tattoos are not a definite indicator of gang membership. Yeah, exactly. And I just pretty much demonstrated all the reasons why. Both documents were entered as evidence by the ACLU in its lawsuit. I'm gonna tell you straight up, like people can fight this in court, and good that they're trying to be on the right side of history. But you're not getting these people back. It is what it is. Maybe they get released from that El Salvadorian prison. Maybe not. But like, it's not like Trump and his administration are to go down there and get them back. Like, that's not going to happen. Known primarily for human trafficking and extortion in Latin America, Trende Aragua does not have a significant presence in the U.S., according to Rebecca Hansen, an expert on Venezuelan gangs and assistant professor at the University of Florida. Right? Obviously, like I never even heard of this specific gang until this article. Never heard, well, I guess this other article. And something else I was reading this week about this other guy that we're going to read in this article. It said Hansen, in a court declaration for the ACLU, said it was absolutely implausible that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's regime was intertwined with Trende Aragua, a key legal point in Trump's argument for the use of the Alien Enemies Act out of a wartime context. Right? So what it really was is that Trump, during his first administration, was against the communist regime of, I guess that would be Maduro, right? So the CIA pretty much went down there and toppled it, allegedly, right? Speculatively. They went down there and toppled that regime. And Trump, trying to turn the minds and hearts of the Venezuelan people against the idea of communism or any kind of left-wing ideology, said, hey, you can come on up to America, seek asylum up to America, right? Trying to sway the hearts and the minds of the people against, like, say, siding with, like, China or, like, Russia, quote-unquote communist countries, or Cuba more closely, right? And siding with the U.S. instead. And then when a lot of Venezuelan people started moving up here, a lot of them Asherites, a lot of them, Northern Kingdom Israelites started moving up here, Trump was like, whoa, right? He's like, this is what I've been against the whole time. So now he's shipping them back out. And, maybe that was his plan all along. I don't even necessarily think so. I think he was just kind of speaking in the moment. And, when he got back into office, he said, hey, let's get all these Northern Kingdom Israelites out of here. Members cannot be identified by tattoos or hand gestures, Hansen said. When Franco Reyes, a 24-year-old house painter living in Tampa, Florida, with his wife and their 9-year-old son, appeared for his check-in on February 4th, he was detained, his lawyer Mark Prada said. So, again, a lot of these arrests for these deportations came from the people doing what they were supposed to do through legal immigration, right? They're supposed to check in with their immigration officers, and that's what they did, and then boom, they get snatched up anyway. All right. I'm guessing that's Franco Reyes right there. Yeah. And it's a brother who's working in construction. you know. In his immigration paperwork, ICE said Reyes may be an affiliate of Tren de Aragua. The records the records reviewed by Reuters included someone else's alien registration number, another person's name, and wrongly identified him as a woman. They included no evidence of gang affiliation. You see that right there. So, they just had the wrong numbers on him. They had the wrong paperwork on him. They said, "Oh, you fit the description of somebody else. So hey, let's ship you out, right?" And I remember whenever I was working in construction, we had Venezuelan brothers and sisters come up, start working construction because they had just got here as far as through what Trump had decreed in his first term, where he said, hey, y'all can come up here and seek asylum. And so there was a lot of people come up here and do that. And now, obviously, he's just flipping it on them, shipping them to this El Salvadorian prison. The men, by the way, specifically the men, not so many women, maybe a couple women here and there, but specifically the men. All right. In his immigration paperwork, ICE said Reyes may be an affiliate of Tren de Aragua. The records, I just read this, sorry. They included no evidence of gang affiliation. According to Prada, the ICE attorney told the immigration court judge that the government did not have to provide proof its records were correct, as it wasn't an evidentiary hearing, right? So, but it's a part of due process to present evidence for taking this specific legal action, this kind of legal punishment against people. Like if you claim the U.S. is free, which we know that the freedom here is a sham. You should. If you don't realize that yet, then what's it going to take to show you that freedom here is not free? This is not a free country. All right. But as it says right here, I'm going to read this part. The government has provided no evidence in his claim that he may be a gang member and then disappeared him, Prada said in an interview. This is complete lawlessness. This is not freedom, all right? This is not freedom here. This is complete lawlessness, all right? The people in power, the wicked, Esau just does what he wants to do. At any given time, he could change it up, he could switch it up, and just add to the evil and wickedness, the lawlessness that has already been done. All right, this is what he does. All right. In the asylum case of André Hernandez, a gay makeup artist who was detained at the border when he requested entry under the CBP-1 app during the Biden administration, ICE alleged gang membership based on his tattoos. Right. Crown has been found to be an identifier for a Tren de Aragua gang member. An officer wrote in a September 2024 screening summary. The officer gave that 5 points. No other categories were marked. The tattoos in question, crowns on his wrist, one saying mom and the other dad. Right, so so there it is there. All right. And understand. Why is this happening? Ultimately, it's because of sin. So let's read this here in Deuteronomy 28 real quick. Deuteronomy 28 and verse, starting with 15, and I'm going to jump down. It says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I commanded this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. All right. So starting with 19 here, and I do need to read this other article real quick. It says, cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. You see that right there. Cursed you're going to be when you come in. This is like talking about coming in and going out to war, but prophetically coming into the country and going out of the country in cursed manners and cursed ways. All right. So let's jump to this other article real quick about deportation. It said, judge orders the return. Come on now. Got that. Judge orders the return of wrongly deported Maryland man to U.S. from El Salvador. All right, so let's get into this. It says U.S. judge ruled on Friday that the Trump administration must return a Maryland man who was wrongly deported to El Salvador back to the United States within 3 days, the latest legal setback for the administration's hardline deportation policies, right? So it's not, let's see if it happens, because I read about this, I want to say earlier today, it was on a different website, but let's see if they bring it back within 3 days. Bet they don't. But let's just see. It says the U.S. has already acknowledged Kilmar Obrego Garcia, a Salvadorian migrant who lived in the U.S. legally with a work permit, right? So he was not here illegally. He was not an illegal migrant. Was deported in error as part of 3 plane loads of migrants that flown out last month over alleged ties to violent gangs. Right. So the judge ruled today that he must return. Within the next 3 days, right? So by Monday or Monday evening. So let's see. Doubt he comes back, but let's just see. But the administration has argued it has no legal authority to bring him back to the country, though Obrego Garcia's lawyers dispute that, right? Oh, we have no legal authority to bring him back. You had no legal authority to kick him out either, right? Because he was doing what he was supposed to do, as far as like he was here legally with a work permit. It's not about illegal immigration. I don't know if y'all have noticed this. None of this is about illegal immigration. They say that's what it's about, but it's not. They don't give a damn if you're here legally or not. They're gonna get you. All right, and then if they want to get you, they're gonna get you. It is what it is. We just got to come back to the Most High. All right. They put him there. They can bring him back. Andrew Rossman, lawyer at prominent law firm Quinn Emanuel, that joined Obrego Garcia's legal team on Friday, said in a statement. After questioning government lawyers, U.S. District Judge Paula Zenas ruled at a Greenbelt, Maryland court hearing that the government must take steps to bring him back to the United States by April the 7th. Okay, so we got a date. Must take steps to bring him back. So that could get... must take steps to bring him back. That could get caught up in litigation for years. I'm just telling you straight up. The Justice Department will appeal the order to the Richmond-based 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, according to a court filing after the hearing. In a statement, the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said Zenas should contact President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador, because we are unaware of the judge having jurisdiction or authority over the country of El Salvador, right? So they shipped him there. They can get him back, like what that one lawyer said. Nayib Bukele, who is this guy? Because with a name like Nayib, businessman, Armando Bukele Catan. Who is this? Who's his dad? Armando. Palestinian origin. So this is a Muslim religious leader. This is Ishmael. Nayib is Ishmael. So no wonder. Now it's starting to make sense, El Salvador. Because, it could have been, very easily could have been, a wicked Israelite selling out his people. And I guess technically it still could be that, but no, this is more than likely, this is Ishmael. This is Ishmael and Esau working together. Esau being Trump, Ishmael being this Nayib Bukele, saying, hey, look, we're going to take out these Northern Kingdom Israelites. Hey, you want somewhere to ship them? Ship them all here. All right? With a name like Nayib, I knew that had to be Muslim. Ain't no way that's Catholic. That's got to be Muslim. Ain't no way that's Spaniard. And it's not. All right, this is makes a lot of sense now. At the hearing, Obrego Garcia's lawyer, Simon Sandoval Moshenberg, told the judge that there was no legal basis for the deportation. They admit they had no legal authorization to remove him to El Salvador, Moshenberg said. The public interest lies in the government following the law, which, as we read in the last article, they don't care about the law. This is complete lawlessness. Erez Ruvini, a lawyer for the government, conceded that Obrego Garcia should not have been removed. That is not in dispute, Ruvini said. All right. In an unusual exchange, Zenith grilled Ruvini on why the U.S. couldn't get Abrigo Garcia back, to which Ruvini said he had asked U.S. government officials that question without getting a satisfactory answer for himself. So they both agree. Like, both sides agree in this. Like, hey, yeah, it was wrong. Yeah, we did it. And it's wrong. We can't get him back, though. Like, this is insane. This is insane. It says the absence of evidence speaks for itself. He's like, yeah, I know you're right. We didn't have no authority to take this guy and ship him to El Salvador to a prison with less than humane conditions, from what I hear. They treat them like animals in there, from what I hear. The case is the latest flashpoint in the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration, which has raised constitutional questions and drawn the rebuke of a judge in Washington who is weighing whether U.S. officials violated a court order temporarily blocking the deportation of alleged Venezuelan gang members under an 18th century law. Trump on March 15th invoked the, we read this in the last article. The administration said it sent 2 flights to El Salvador that day carrying deportees processed under the rarely used wartime statute, and a 3rd flight carrying people deported under other rules. Right? So they on top of that deportation stuff, this is what he ran on. This is what he ran on. And of course they said, oh, we're only going to get the criminals out of here. Yeah, right. Like, nobody really believed that. I hope you didn't. Because if you did, then you're a fool. All right? It was never about illegal immigration. It was always about getting the Northern Kingdom Israelites, specifically the men, get them Northern Kingdom Israelites out of here, because we don't want the seed of Israel to prevail. The women can stay, right, because the women don't carry seed, or rather the women don't provide seed, they only carry seed, right? They only carry children. The men have the seed of the children within them, all right? Let's see, Abrigo Garcia was wrongfully placed on the 3rd flight despite an October 2019 judicial order granting him protection from deportation. Right? So they told him in 2019, hey, no, you ain't gonna get deported. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. And 2019, Trump was still in office. Right? So this was the Trump administration. Not necessarily the federal government, but it was while Trump was still in office, right? They said, well, don't worry about it. You ain't gonna get deported. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. Here we are 6 years later, boom, got deported. A U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement official has said in a court filing. So that's ICE. An ICE official said, yeah, he was supposed to be here legally. Oh, well. That's basically what, oh, well, our bad. We're not getting him back, but oh, well. Abrigo Garcia was stopped and detained by ICE officers on March 12th and questions about his alleged gang affiliation, right? So it don't matter what you're doing, what's going on. Hey, they're pulling up on you, especially if you're Venezuelan, but you don't even have to be Venezuelan. They're pulling up on you saying, hey, look, you got gang ties? No, I ain't got no gang ties. Oh, well, come with us. It'll all be all right if you come with us. No, don't fall for that. Hey, we're just going to question you. No, that's how it starts. You're going to ship your ass to El Salvador. All right? The government asserted in its earlier immigration dispute in 2019 that Abrigo Garcia was a member of the gang MS-13, which he has denied. Right, so this isn't even about Aragua, right? Or Tren de Aragua. It's not even about that. It's about MS-13, which, again, he has no affiliation, right? Allegedly. His lawyers, who also represent his wife and 5-year-old child in the U.S., in a court filing said the U.S. had failed to take any voluntary steps to rectify what they themselves describe as an error. So they already said, yeah, it was a mistake. But so what? They don't care about these people. They don't care about the Northern Kingdom Israelites. Remember, these are the same people who wrote into the Constitution, go read it, check it out, where it talks about how the so-called Indians were savages, right? Not even people, right? They called the slaves, right, 3/5 of a man. The Indians didn't even get that. They said they're savages, less than, right? They're less than people, right? Not even people, like animals, basically is what they were saying. So that's how they've always had that mentality toward Northern Kingdom Israelites. It ain't no different if you're coming from Venezuela or you coming from Mexico, you coming from, Guatemala or wherever else. That's how they view you. That's how they view us, man. That's how they view the Israelites. They're like, hey, we got to get rid of them. All right. As it says, Abrego Garcia's wife, who attended Friday's hearing, and child are U.S. citizens. The Trump administration has also sent military troops to the U.S. border, and which says they are U.S. citizens, yet he was here legally. So, hey, how long before they start shipping out people who are U.S. citizens? The Trump administration has also sent military troops to the U.S. border and reassigned federal agents to focus on immigration enforcement amid ramped up arrest and deportation efforts, right? So you ain't getting in, and if you get in, we're shipping you out, right? All right. So back to what the scriptures say. And I might not even get a chance to get to these other stories because we spent so much time on the other two articles. But anyway, Deuteronomy 28 is only written to the Israelites. That's why this is only affecting the Israelites. All right, Deuteronomy 28 verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I commanded this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Right? So jumping down where it says, cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. Right? Cursed coming into the country, and cursed going out of the country. All right. So, okay, here we go. Verse 25. Not so much the first part of 25, but the second part of 25. It says, the Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies, right? Struck down. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. That is forcible deportation. All right. Forcible deportation. All right. So from there, yeah. So verse 63. It also says, and I'm just hitting some of the high points of this. Actually, let's go to verse 32, because 32 and 41 kind of go with what we're reading as well. It says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. Right. So that first kid that we was reading about, he was just a boy. E. Chavez was his last name. Forget his first name, but E. Chavez was his last name, and his mother had to be the one to speak up. Hey, he wasn't no gang member. He wasn't any kind of affiliated with any kind of stuff like that. But she had no power to get him back. Right. So people are seeing their kids be taken away. Right. And right here it does say sons and daughters. It does say sons and daughters. So, hey, they're starting with the men. I'll show you why they're starting with the men. In Exodus. In Exodus 1, like I had made reference to earlier, this is what Pharaoh did. He targeted the men. All right, so Exodus 1. Let's see. Starting with 22, or I guess just verse 22. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born he shall cast into the river, and every daughter he shall save alive. You see that right there? It's because the seed comes from the men. All right? He said, look, throw all these sons, get them out of here. Right? But you don't have to necessarily focus on the daughters. All right? In Numbers 1 and verse 18, it says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the 2nd month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. Right? So not only does that show that, 20 and up, that's considered an adult, but also it says that their pedigrees, meaning their bloodlines, their lineages, were by the house of their fathers, right? Because men carry the seed, right? Women, or rather, men carry the seed, women kind of like grow the seed within the womb, right? They'll carry that seed for 9 months. Men carry the seed like all their lives, right? Until they, ejaculate, and then a woman will carry that seed for another 9 months, create, and, or rather I should say, grow that child within them, right? It's the same concept as if like fruit trees. It's the same concept. All right, and that's something I'll go into. I would have went into it if we weren't closing out the Passover this past Wednesday night on learning the word. I'll go into like trees a little bit more there. The Bible uses like a metaphor for trees and seed as a metaphor for people. All right, so it's the same concept though, like a fruit tree. Let's say like an olive seed is going to grow an olive tree, right? It doesn't matter whether you plant that seed in Jerusalem or in America or in China. That seed is going to be the same, right? So it's the same idea with the seed of copulation, is what the Bible calls it. The seed of copulation is what we know today as like sperm, right? So it's the same concept, right? Men produce the seed. These people, these Edomites, they know that, all right, because they know the word, they know the Bible, all right. I don't know if y'all had seen this when Trump was making the rounds before he got elected. He was saying that many prophets are saying that the war that the world's going to end in the Middle East, right? So like he knows what the scriptures say. All right, as far as like World War III, and he said we're not going to let that happen, right? Even though he's bringing that to head more than anything else, because he can't stop prophecy. But they know the scriptures. They know that the men produce the seed, so they're saying, hey, let's get all the men out so that there won't be a more of the seed of Israel here, right? So that's what they're trying to do away with. All right, so we just read that in verse 32. This is what it means in verse 41. This just elaborates a little bit more. It says, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity, right? Literally going captive into the El Salvadorian prison, right? Quite literally going captive into the El Salvadorian prison, all right? So Deuteronomy 28 and verse 63, it says, and it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, right? Remember the Latino demographic, quote unquote, is the most populous within the U.S., all right? It's the most, I don't know how to kind of phrase this, but it's the most rising demographic of people here in the U.S., all right? Those Northern Kingdom Israelites. And it makes sense, all right? It makes sense because it's 10 tribes if you count Dan, which Dan is not really recognized anymore, but it's like 9 tribes of people. So of course that's the fastest growing demographic. So the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. You see that right there? So that's what's happening. People getting plucked off the land. All right. So from there, and this is all because of sin. This is all because of sin. Understand that thing. Understand that thing. They ain't trying to deport Arabs. They're not trying to deport the East Indian people. You know what I'm saying? The Hindus. They ain't trying to deport them. They ain't trying to deport the Chinese, even though the Chinese are the biggest threat to America. They're not trying to deport them. They only care about the Israelites, all right? And it's been placed in their hearts and their minds to do that, all right? In Amos 3, starting on verse 1, hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. You see that right there? So that's what the Most High said. Hey, only the Israelites are going to get punished. It is what it is. All right? All the other nations, and I'll read this in 2 Maccabees. I forget where it's at, but I really should remember where this is at. In the book of 2 Maccabees, I think it's chapter 4 when it first mentioned this. Could be chapter 5. Let's see. Let's see. It could be chapter 5. Y'all forgive me. And yeah, obviously I didn't write this down. This is something that, just came to my head here, because I'm trying to get to the point where with all the other nations, the Most High allows their sins to reach up to a certain point. He doesn't do that for the Israelites. All right, he has a special relationship with us, as the prophet Amos just described. The scribes here in in Second Maccabees said the same thing in a different way. All right. So here we go. So I'll start with verse 17 here in 2 Maccabees chapter 5. It says, "And so haughty was Antiochus in his mind that he considered not that the Lord was angry for a while for the sins of them that dwelt in the city, and therefore his eye was not upon the place." Right. So Antiochus, like these leaders of these nations, these other nations, they think they can just do whatever they want, right, with God's people. They don't consider that the reason why God is allowing these things to happen is because of the sins of the people, right? "For had they not been formerly wrapped in many sins, this man, as soon as he had come, had forthwith been scourged and put back from his presumption, as Heliodorus was, whom Seleucus the king sent to view the treasury," right? And if you read that history in 2 Maccabees, Heliodorus was a Greek man who came up, who tried to pollute the sanctuary, tried to rob the temple while the people were still in righteousness. And so angels come down from heaven and whooped his ass and sent him back. All right. And he told Seleucus the king at that time, he said, "Look, hey, don't send nobody else to Jerusalem unless you want them punished." All right. So if the point being that if we apply the Most High's commandments, he will fight for us. He will fight these other nations for us. We have no power to fight against them. All this is going on. We don't have any power to do anything. But God will fight for us if we choose him. All right? Let me just get rid of these, because I can already tell we're not going to have time to get into these other articles. Maybe next week. As it says here, "Nevertheless, God did not choose the people for the place's sake, but the place for the people's sake." You see that right there? So God's people is not about who's in the place right now. It's about his people that are scattered all over the world. All right? The people who are being removed into all kingdoms of the earth. All right? That's what we just read. The people who have been scattered into corners. All right? It says, "And therefore the place itself that was partaker with them of the adversity that happened to the nation did afterwards communicate in the benefits sent from the Lord. And as it was forsaken in the wrath of the Almighty, so again the great Lord being reconciled, it was set up with all glory." All right? So, understand, Jerusalem will be whole again once the people are back. Those people that are over there now, they're not God's people. All right? They parted the land. That was prophecy. So that great day of judgment will come. All right. He also said something in chapter 6 that kind of furthers this point. All right. Let's see. Yeah. So this is really the point that I wanted to get to. In 2 Maccabees chapter 6, starting with verse 12. "Now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities." Understand, all these deportations that's going on, all these wicked and evil things that are happening and getting prepared to happen, that Trump is warning you about as far as like the tariffs are concerned, and as far as like the he said there's going to be great bombings. That's something that we didn't get into, but great bombings in Iran if they don't accept peace talks, right? Those things that are escalating to happen, these calamities that are happening, all right, understand, don't be discouraged, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation. So specifically with the deportations, right? Specifically with the deportations, it's just a chastening of our nation, all right? And it's not about to stop. It's not about to stop, and it's only going to escalate. Right now, it's focused on Northern Kingdom Israelites. You think it ain't going to turn on you Southern Kingdom Israelites? You think it ain't going to turn on you Judites, you so-called black people here in America? Guess what? It will. Because right now they're already throwing false allegations of gang activity at the Northern Kingdom to deport them, to afflict them, throw them in prison houses. All right, so what do you one specific prison house in El Salvador. So what do you think they're going to do to you talking about gang? They're going to come after you next. Understand, this is only going to escalate. It's not going to get any better before it gets worse. All right? But a chastening of our nation. For it is a token of his great goodness, of the Most High's great goodness, when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. You see that right there? Because things we read about, one of the guys was gay. All of them had tattoos, right? God said not to do these things. When you read the law in Leviticus 19:28, it says not to print any marks upon you. right? And it also says Leviticus 18:22, man shouldn't lie down with mankind as with womankind, right? So even if these men aren't doing the things that the people are accusing them of, they're still in sin. All right? So understand that. They're not serving any long time. So God does not allow, like we read in Amos, right? He said, you will be punished for your iniquities. He does not allow the Israelites to sin for a long time without being punished. All right? But forthwith punished. For not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. Right? It said, lest that being come to the height of sin. See, that's the thing with America. That's the thing with the rest of the nations around the world. That's the same. That's specifically with Esau, Ishmael, and Moab. We're going to get that, right? You're, as it said with Naib, he's of Palestinian descent. He's Ishmaelite. He's Muslim, right? Same with Trump. He's Esau, right? And Moab would be like the Chinese. They're going to reach a certain height to their sin that God does not allow the Israelites to get to. Afterwards, he should take vengeance of us, right? So that's what God does with all the nations, with all of the nations. He lets them reach a certain height to their sin, and then he judges them for it, all right? Not with the Israelites. We get like right here with our sin, and God judges us immediately, all right? And therefore, he never withdraw his mercy from us. So understand, even though he chastens us as with children, right? He whoops us like sons and daughters. He doesn't like destroy our nation like he's going to do with America and China and every nation that's Saudi Arabia, all these other nations, right? The state of Israel right now, he's going to destroy that entirely. All right. And therefore he never withdraw his mercy from us. And though he punish with adversity, yet doth he never forsake his people. But let this that we had spoken, be for a warning unto us. And now we will come to the declaring of the matter in a few words. You see that right there. So let it be a warning of things to come. Let it be a warning. All right? A warning. So from there, we'll just get a few more scriptures about the prison houses. Right? I think it's Isaiah 42. I could be mistaken, but I think it's Isaiah 42 talks about the prison houses. All them snared in holes in the prison houses. Let's see. It could be 49. No, here we go. So Isaiah 42 and 22, here it is. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. Robbed and spoiled is basically the same thing, right? Taking away our goods, taking away everything that we got, all right? They are all of them snared in holes, right, in the trap, and they are hid in prison houses. You see that right there? We're hid in prison houses, right? They're taking the northern kingdom and said, boom, ship them out to these prison houses in El Salvador, all right? And it's the same thing with the so-called blacks here, the Judites here, the largest demographic in prison. It may even be Latinos up here too. But those are the main ones who make up the prisons here. They are for a prey and none delivereth, right? Nobody is actually going to go down there and deliver those people out of El Salvador. Unless it's the Lord Jesus. That's it. Maybe some of them will repent. I don't even know if they let them have Bibles down there. I'm not quite sure what all goes down there. For a spoil and none saith restore. You think Iran's going to step up and say, hey, you got to free those people from El Salvador? You think Russia or China's going to step up and say, hey, you got to free all those innocent people from El Salvador? No, they're not. They don't care. All right? All right. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Right? So Isaiah is saying all this in prophecy, and he said, who's going to listen? Who's going to hear me out? All right. Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? You see that right there? So Isaiah said, look, it's the Most High doing this. It's the Most High doing this. For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. That's what it all goes back to. That's what we're reading in Deuteronomy 28. That's what it all goes back to. His law, statutes, and commandments that we broke. Therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger, and the strength of battle. And it had set him on fire round about, yet he know not. And it burned him, and he laid it not to heart. You see that right there, the strength of battle. You ever seen some of these ice agents? They pull up like the SWAT team. They pull up like they ready for war. All right? And they're taking you out, man. Specifically the men. But yeah, from there. I'll get this, even though I don't usually like to read what I had read earlier in the day. I had read this in Psalms 140 before I even knew what I was going to be talking about tonight, and it's just so relevant. All right. This isn't even the Psalm of the prisoner, but it's still very relevant. All right. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man. A lot of these people were just innocent people, right? Innocent people, just, everyday working class people. Then here come these violent men, right? Which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. That's why ever since World War II, the U.S. has not stopped being in wars. They're continually gathered for war. That's the Edomites, all right? By the sword they live, by the sword they're going to fall, all right? They're gathered for war. You see that? We didn't even get a chance to touch on it this week, but they are gathered for war. Now I'll get this here in Revelation 13 real quick. In Revelation 13. And start with 9. It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Understand, he put all these northern kingdom Israelites, the so-called Latinos, was reading about Zebulun, so-called, that would be like if you're El Salvadorian. That's Zebulun. Central American is El Salvadorian, or Central American, I should say, is Zebulun. And Venezuelans are Asher, right? So these are northern kingdom Israelites. It said, he leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, right? So the U.S., these Edomites here are leading the people here into captivity. And guess what? They're going into captivity. When Christ comes back, he's going to set the world back in order. All right, he's going to bring justice and judgment to the world. They're going into captivity, man. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. You see that right there? And he's doing all this killing, all this going to war. Guess what? He's going to receive the brunt of it. America's going to be wiped out. It's going to be wiped off the map, man. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. So the saints understand this, that the saints understand that we serve a just God. The saints understand that, hey, we serve a God of justice and judgment and equity. All right? All the things that was done to us going to get done back to them. All right? Psalms 140, back here again, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually they are gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. Selah. That old serpent called the devil and Satan. All right? Running this country. That old serpent. That serpent, remember that serpent wasn't even necessarily, the spiritual demon Satan. It was a messenger of such. All right? Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have purpose to overthrow my goings. Right? The hands of the wicked, the violent man. That goes back to Malachi 1. I just want to point this out real quick about Malachi 1 and verse 4. It says, whereas Edom saith, Edom, all right, that would be Trump. That would be your so-called European colonizers who founded America, right, alongside other European colonies. We are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them the border of wickedness, right? That's the wicked. And the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever, right? So the people against whom the Lord is angry with forever, for all this evil that they've done to his people. Understand that. It said, who have purpose to overthrow my goings, right? So that's what they've done to the northern kingdom. The proud have hid a snare for me and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me, Selah. You see that right there? So the proud in heart. In Obadiah, it says Esau is very proud, right? But understand, they said, hey, look, if you follow these rules of being a legal migrant here, of legal immigration, then you're good. You'll never get deported. Just check in. Just check in with us every once in a while. All right? Just check in with us, whether it be every month, every couple of weeks, whatever the case it was. Every 3 months, I don't know what it was, what these people's agreements they had. But regardless, we read that at them check-ins, that's when they got them. All right? At them immigration check-in, that's when they got them. That's a snare hit for them. That's a net by the wayside. Gins for them. I said unto the Lord, Thou art my God, hear the voice of my supplications, O Lord. O God, the Lord, the strength of my salvation, now has covered my head in the day of battle. Right? So we will be delivered when the nukes go off. All right? Understand? No weapon formed against you shall prosper if you're truly serving the Lord. Grant not, O Lord, the desires of the wicked. Further not his wicked device, lest they exalt themselves. Selah. You see that right there. So God's only going to let it get so high, like what we read in the Maccabees. All right? He's only going to let it get so high. He's not going to let it go too far. As for the head of those that compass me about, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. Right? So every idle word is going to be brought into judgment. That's what Christ himself said. Let me get that real quick. It's been, I think I've ever read that in a class. But that's what come across my mind when David said that right here. Let's see. Matthew 12, is it 12 or 13? No, here we go. 12 and verse 36. It says, But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. So understand that. When David said, let the mischief of their own lips cover them, everything that they say. Remember, from the article, when they said, yeah, he did nothing wrong. It was an error on our part, but we're not going to go get him. Right? They admitted that they did something wrong to the innocent. Guess what? They're going to have to pay for that. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. They led him into captivity, and they're not trying to redeem him. They're not trying to bring him out. They're not trying to right their wrongs. God said, guess what? I'm going to do it for you. All right? The mischief of their own lips will cover them. Let burning coals fall upon them. Let them be cast into the fire, deep pits, that they rise not up again. He said it right there. So America's going to be destroyed. With them burning coals falling from the sky. Them nukes dropping, man. Them missiles dropping. Going to destroy this place. Going to set it on fire. All right? Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him. You see that right there. So, and again, we didn't even get to this about all the stuff going on as far as Iran teaming up with Lebanon and Yemen. Like they're all, Russia is on the side of them as well, on the side of Iran. Guess what? If Russia's getting involved, that means BRICS getting involved, right? Everybody is getting ready for this war, World War III that's coming, all right? So, that evil, that affliction, that burning coals is going to hunt the violent man to overthrow him, all right? It says, I know that the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor. See, these people were just working class people. They were poor people. And especially now, they've lost everything. So guess what? The Most High is going to maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor. Surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. The upright shall dwell in thy presence. Understand that thing. Understand that thing. And that's what it's all about. Turning back to the Most High's laws, turning back to what the Word says to do, and then, He's going to fight our battles for us. Hosea 5:15, it says, I will go and return to my place, right? So God's not going to fight for us till they acknowledge their offense, acknowledge that we have sinned against the highest, and seek my face. In their affliction, they will seek me early. So that's why this affliction is going on. So that we will seek the highest as his people. Not as Catholics or as Baptists or as Muslims or anything else, as Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Manasseh, Simeon, Gad, Reuben. All right, Issachar, Zebulun, Asher, and Naphtali as his 12 tribes. We got to seek him as the Israelites. All right, and then he will fight our cause. All right. So specifically when it says seek my face, I want to get this here in Zephaniah 2. Zephaniah 2 is, I love this scripture more and more every day. In Zephaniah 2 and verse 1, it says, gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation, not desired. Right? That's both kingdoms. Make up one nation, the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah, so-called Latinos and so-called blacks, and also the dispersed around the world and all the kingdoms of the earth and every nation. We got to come together as one nation, because we are not desired. We are not desired by these Edomites like Trump. We're not desired by these Ishmaelites like that naive guy over there in El Salvador who's locking up all the people. We're not desired. All right? Before the decree bring forth, before the day passes the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you, before judgment day, we got to get right before judgment day. All right? Seek ye the Lord. Remember it says, seek my face. Seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth, meaning obedient, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. All right, so I do just want to get what righteousness is real quick. I want to keep that Matthew scripture because we're going to close out here in a minute with Matthew 26. So in righteousness, when it says seek righteousness, Psalms 119 and verse 172, seek righteousness. It says, my tongue shall speak of thy word, for all thy commandments are righteousness. So when it says seek righteousness, it means seek the commandments of the Lord. All right, so when you seek the Lord, when you seek his face, you're actually seeking his commandments out of the Bible. All right? Like, don't get tattoos. Don't be gay. Don't break the Sabbath day. Don't break his feast days. Don't celebrate these pagan holidays, but rather celebrate what the Most High has told us to celebrate, right? Don't celebrate Easter, but rather celebrate the Passover. That's already passed, but guess what? We got the Pentecost coming up, right? We always got a Sabbath every week. We got a new moon every month. You got to seek what the Bible says to do, all right? Seek meekness, meaning seek obedience to God. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. He said, maybe you'll make the cut. Maybe you can get the kingdom and you won't have to face severe consequences on judgment day because it's around the corner. Most people ain't going to get it. Most people are going to be destroyed. Most people are going to be judged come judgment day because everybody's been living how you want to live and not how God said to live. So he said, maybe if you turn to him now, you can be spared in that day. All right? So with that, let's go ahead and close it out. Matthew 26. Matthew 26, starting on verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman hath done be told for a memorial of her. So all praises to the Most High that this sister did a wonderful thing for our Lord. And now, guess what? We recognize that sister as you know, every time we preach the gospel, as it says right here. And this gospel does go all over the world, you know. These classes are watched by people all over the world. So with that, hope y'all learned something. I'm going to say shalom and happy Sabbath. Let God be magnified.